So in preparation for this interview, there was a lot of places where I could start, because how do you encompass 15 years into one singular interview? It was a lot.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I was sitting down and I was like, where do I start? And so I was doing some research, and I actually started at the beginning. I went back and I watched your very first press conference after your first year in the league.
Okay.
So January 2009.
All right.
Now, what was so interesting is that in that, and I have it right here, it says, I feel like my life has been on fast forward for the last 18 months.
Yeah.
And what this whole entire day is just hitting rewind on all of it. So for you, let's go back to the beginning. April 2008, the Falcons call your name, and you get the opportunity to come to Atlanta and start your career here. At that time, I feel like it was held by many that this was a risky pick, and that was actually something that you said in that 2009 interview. Why did you even feel that way, and how did that change and evolve as your career did, but especially in those first few years?
Yeah, I think, the climate of drafting quarterbacks was different at that time. And so, there was a significant financial investment, in that. The rookie slot, had not been put in place. And so if you were going to end up taking a quarterback early, it was going to be a significant portion of the cap at that time, and big investment. And I remember there being pushback about the contract that I signed at that time. And things, have continued to evolve and change. So there was the risk in it from that portion. And historically, drafting quarterbacks, in the first round or the top 10 picks, I mean, it's like a 50-50 proposition. So you understand kind of the risk element, from there, and then the financial risk element that they have to go through or had to go through at that time. So that was part of it. And then, part of it was, Michael Vick had been here prior to it. And there was that year interim between Mike and myself, and just the icon that he was in our city. There was just a lot, floating around at that time. And to a certain extent, I understood it. And probably those comments from 2009 and 2008, are saying that. And in a lot of ways, I didn't understand the full gravity of it either, being 23 years old and focused on, what I needed to focus on at the time. And so it was risky. And I'm thankful to, Arthur Blank and Mike Smith and Thomas Dimitroff for having the confidence to make that decision at the time. And I always felt it was my job to make it work. And, I needed to do everything that I could, day in and day out to make them right. And I'm proud of the way that I went about that at the time. And, certainly signing 3 contracts, here in Atlanta and playing for 14 years, I think it was worth the risk.
It's so interesting that you talk about this whole idea of all of these things going on around you. And, arguably the time when you were drafted was a very tumultuous time in the franchise's organization. How much in those early years did you kind of internalize that to the point of like, I need to be a symbol of consistency for the organization? Is that something that you honestly internalized?
I mean, I certainly understood, all that had gone on here prior to me coming, and kind of just the landscape that I was coming into. But I didn't internalize it all that much. And I have to give the organization a lot of credit. I think, at the time, Reggie Roberts, Ted Cruz, in our PR department did a great job of kind of shielding me from that, and not putting too much on my plate, not asking me to do too many things, and allowing me to focus on, playing football, trying to be the best quarterback that I could be, helping us win. I also think, Mike Smith as head coach had to have made a conscious effort of, we're not going to put too much on him too soon, and we're just going to give him a little bit more as you prove that you can kind of handle things, and didn't ask me to do too much. I mean, honestly, you look at the league now and quarterbacks coming in, and there's so much expectation for you to come in and be super productive right away, right? We want 35 touchdown passes, less than 10 interceptions. We want you to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game, and to be able to handle all of that. And that just wasn't the case. My first year was a lot of turning around and handing the ball off to Michael Turner. Mm-hmm. And so I was fortunate to have all of these pieces around me at that time when I got here. And for the team to be built in a way that we would run the football and could rely on that. And then, as I kind of developed, mm-hmm. To be used a little bit more. So I think there were a lot of things, that were in place and very intentional by the organization that kind of helped me develop.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting too, because you bring up Michael Turner, and I feel like for you've spoken a lot about your teammates over the years. I mean, it goes with the nature of this game. But you said in 2009 that you were asked, you were like, what's been your favorite moment of your first year in the league? And you said, probably being in the locker room with the guys after a win. That to me is the most endearing and special moments. As you look back on your career, does that still feel true to a certain extent?
Yeah, of course. It's life, much like your career. It's not all about what you do, it's about who you do it with. And, for me, those celebrations in the locker room, I remember vividly clinching the playoffs, and we were in Minnesota, and the celebration that we had in that locker room, DJ Shockley, who, is doing great stuff with the Falcons right now, had me basically tackled on the ground.
Sounds like DJ.
Yeah, exactly. in that locker room, and we were with Chris Redman. It was the three of us, and kind of the rest of the team all around. But like, those are things, it's hard to replicate that in other areas of life, and because you put so much work in, together, and you spend so much time, and then when you see those things, you go out there and you're successful and you see all of that hard work come to life. The celebration with the guys is what's I think so special about football. There's no team sport like it, right? You are completely dependent on 10 other guys while you're on the field, the defense, which is a completely separate, and then the big four special teams. There's really 6 different operations that have to go out there and have to perform at a high level, and you're only one part of 11 of 1/6 of it, right? And so, you're really dependent on so many other guys, and that makes it rewarding because you're doing it together.
Yeah. Well, we talked to a few of your former teammates, former coaches, and I kind of just wanted to read a couple of the responses that we got from them. They're very nice, don't worry.
Yeah, okay.
Tony Gonzalez said, "You're the best quarterback he's ever played with." Todd McClure said, "You have been and always will be a pro." Michael Turner called your career historic, and added that he was glad to witness it from the start. Roddy White recalled the Seattle playoff game in 2012, saying it was the best game he'd ever seen from a quarterback. And Dan Quinn said one of the biggest thrills of his coaching career was seeing you compete up close and personal. All of these men and so many others touched your career, and you in turn touched theirs. What would you like to say to them? Every man, every woman who, whether in the building, on the field on a Sunday, what did they mean to your career?
I mean, it's so hard to appropriately say thank you, to hundreds of different people that I worked with throughout my career. And, I think I'm probably not the best at being able to show people how much I do appreciate them. But I do. And, you mentioned those guys like Tony Gonzalez. How lucky was I in my career, in my second year, to have a first ballot Hall of Famer come in and then play 5 seasons with him and learn from him of, what it looked like to be at the very best, day in and day out, and what it was to be a football player and like do all those things, but also how to live your life away from it too. And to be happy and to be able to balance, this life that you have to do from a profession standpoint, and then, being with your wife or your kids or those kind of things. And I saw him as a young father, being able to kind of balance those things. That was huge for me. I'm thankful for that. I appreciate that. You mentioned Todd McClure. I walk in as a rookie, and there's all of these things that are thrust on you, and he took so much off my plate, right? Like I would come up to the line of scrimmage and Todd would have things handled, and I didn't have to worry about it all that much. I didn't frankly do much, because he was so good at his job. And then he was the glue of those early teams. We had stars, like you mentioned, Tony Gonzalez or Roddy White or Michael Turner. But you had these guys like Todd that were the glue of the team. They understood in the locker room how to kind of navigate the ups and the downs and to get the best out of players. And he knew when, to be firm with guys or, sit them down and put your arm around them. For me, I learned so much from Todd just watching. And, I'm forever, thankful that I walked into this situation with him at that center position, where it's so important for a quarterback and the center to be on the same page. So I was fortunate there. And then you mentioned, Roddy. I remember the first day, getting here and going out onto the field. I think we were in like a mini camp. I think we had 2 mini camps at the time. So the first time I was really on the field with these guys was a mini camp. And we were in routes on air, and I'm like watching him move. And I'm like, I've never seen anybody like this. Like, I love the guys that I played with at BC, but they were not Roddy White, and being shocked at how athletic he was, how powerful he was, and quickly being like, this is going to be fun. Like, I am walking into a situation that is a really good one. And then, to play with him for so long and to watch the competitor that he was. I'll never forget, he's talking about that Seattle game. I remember at the beginning of that game, we had a run play, and Cam Chancellor was like the big physical enforcer of that Seattle defense. And he's on the backside of the run play. And I remember handing it off, turning around, snapping, and like setting up on my play fake and seeing him coming, boom, level Cam. And like came back, to the huddle, and he's like, yeah, like we're gonna, and just, he's talking basically. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this guy has no fear.
Yeah. Like
no fear. And the moment was never too big for him. In fact, like he lived for that. And I used to love the back and forth that we would have. Like our relationship was one that was very fiery, and he would come back at me, I'd go at him, and it brought, the best out of both of us. And just an unbelievable competitor, friend, so great. Michael Turner. The best laugh on the planet, the absolute best laugh on the planet. And it made the day-to-day being in the meetings, and you'd hear him just start laughing. He would sit kind of back behind us to the left, and you'd hear him laughing about whatever we were talking about. And it lightened things up, and he was such a, unselfish teammate, just so good to be around day-to-day and so productive. Absolutely incredibly productive. And for me, it was the security blanket, knowing that it wasn't all on me, right? Like we could turn around and hand that ball off, and he was going to be dominant. You mentioned Dan Quinn and, the comments that he made about competing and seeing that day to day. I learned so much from Dan when he came in about how important it is, to really get to know guys and to understand who these guys are. Because everyone's different, and what guys need from you is different. And he was one of the very best I was ever around at being able to connect, personally to guys, and really find a way to motivate. And I always thought, he was incredible at that. And it really changed my perspective at the middle of my career, coming in, I think, 7 years with Mike Smith. So then year 8 coming in, I'm pretty established, but really in that center part of my career, and pushed me to be different, than I was. And I'm thankful for that and really appreciate it. But any individual player is the sum of all the people that you're around. And it's not just players or coaches, right? It's Jimmy Hay in the equipment room, who for 14 years, I never had to think about anything, or Brian Boigner or Kenny Asua, so many different guys that took so much off my plate so that I could focus on just going out there and throwing a football. Across the building, I'm going to miss, I don't have time,
right.
To kind of name everybody that played such a huge part in it. But thank you, because it made my life so much easier, and it allowed me to really keep my focus small. And I think that's one of the things that allowed for sustainability and consistency, because my focus was never distracted. It was set up so that so many things were taken off my plate that I could focus on one thing. And I'm forever grateful. I really am. It was, you talked at the beginning about today's a little bit of rewind, but I feel like the 15 years were all spent in fast forward, and it's amazing to me, that I'm sitting here now at 38 years old. I still feel like I'm that 22-year-old kid who was drafted and had no idea all of these people that you were going to meet along the way and how much they would impact your life.
Mm-hmm. We talk a lot about teammates, but the ultimate teammate is obviously your wife, Sarah. And she's been with you every step of this journey. I know it's hard to, like what we're talking about, encompassing all of these feelings, but what did she mean to your journey, and it also being her journey as well?
She means everything. To me, I would not have had the career that I had without Sarah. There's just no way. She is, she's the most selfless person I know. And, she saw everything. I think there's this perception and there's highlights, and you see the games, and people from this outside perspective, see all these things. But the same is true even in the building, right? Like, there is a level of coming in as a quarterback every day that you have to show up the same way, right? And you have to go in there and you have to be this person for your teammates that they need you to be. She was the one who got the real version of me, the vulnerable version of me, has seen me at the highest and has known exactly what to say to get you back, to the right space, but has also seen me at the lowest and has known exactly what to say or do to help me get back to a space where I could be, productive. She's seen me wake up on Monday mornings and not be able to get out of bed, or wake up in the middle of the night after a game. I specifically remember it in Tampa. It was so hot at the beginning of the year, and I got this full back cramp, and I went into shock basically in our bed, and screaming, and she kind of helped me get settled. And so I'm so lucky that I met her at the time that I did at Boston College, and that we were able to kind of go through this journey together. But she's the reason the journey is what it is, because without her and her support and her being able to just instinctively know what to do, it's been incredible. And then to see her kind of develop as a mother, and I can see that for 3 other boys. She's a mother of 4, basically, including myself. But it's been incredibly impressive to see, and I love her, and I'm so thankful that she's been by my side the entire time.
So just to wrap up and to close, I want to read to you the final quote of that interview that I've been referring to over and over, because I actually think it's really intriguing. You said, "It's an honor to be able to go out there and play in this league. To actually be doing it is an unbelievable thing. I've enjoyed this year, and I look forward to, hopefully, many more surreal moments in my career, but it certainly has been a great first year." We don't get to go back in time and talk to our 23, 22-year-old selves, but if you could, what would you want to say to that guy who's about to embark on that chapter of his story that you're now closing today?
Try and slow it down. You know, I would say, you know, it's going to go by too fast. And, you know, try and enjoy it as much as you can along the way. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but you're going to navigate it. And, you know, just try and soak it all in. And I probably would have been hard-headed like I am now and wouldn't have done anything that I said. I would have probably done it the exact same way. But I wish, you know, I think all of us at the end, right, wish you would have maybe slowed down and enjoyed it and soaked things in maybe a little bit more. But at the same time, you know, it is, how lucky was I, right? That to be able to say that at 23, I'd say the same thing now. You know, like I was so lucky to play for as long as I did in this league, which is really all I wanted to do my entire life. And to be able to do that for 15 years with the people that I did was incredible. And so I wish I could go back to it. I wish I could be sitting there doing that conference. You know, I wish I could be 23 again and to be able to, you know, relive all of those moments along the way. You know, but I'm not, you know, I'm here and I'm excited about what's ahead.
I think that's very poetic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for not just sitting down with us today, but I think overall a decade and a half year career. It's pretty spectacular. And I hope that you feel that too.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I can't believe I'm sitting here doing this.
Right,
it's weird to me, you know, and, but it is, it was like the thrill of a lifetime to be able to do it, to be able to, you know, be in that position. And then also, you know, I probably never appreciated people's support as much as you do when you're done, you know, because you're just blinders on and your head down and you're going. But honestly, you know, a thank you to all of the fans too. You know, because I do feel like, listen, they rode the highs, they rode the lows, and they were both. I just hope that they know that for, you know, 14 years here in Atlanta, 1 year in Indy, but, you know, mainly the 14 years here, like I never took that lightly. And I'm proud of the fact that I do think I maximized the ability that I had. And I gave everything I had every day to try and be the absolute best that I could. It wasn't perfect, you know, but I think it was my best. And I appreciate their support along the way.